All right, I'm here at the Capitol. It's a little after 8 o'clock, and we're waiting for the Assembly Committee on Public Safety so we can listen to the hearing about many things, but of course, we're here for AB 2624. So let's just wait and see what happens today.
We're actually going to next take up Assembly Bill 2624 by Assembly Member Bonta, followed by Mr. Hart. Assembly Member, whenever you're ready, you can begin. Your witnesses will have 2 minutes each to address the committee, as will the opposition witnesses. And again, you can begin whenever you're ready to do so.
Good morning. AB 2624 expands California's Safe at Home program to include immigrant service providers, their employees, and volunteers. This program allows participants to use a substitute address designated by the Secretary of State, keeping their home, work, and school addresses out of public records while still allowing them to safely receive mail and legal documents throughout the state. This gives them a critical layer of protection and privacy in an environment where their personal safety is increasingly at risk. Individuals who provide vital immigrant support services, including legal aid, humanitarian relief, case management, and advocacy, are facing targeted harassment. This is not hypothetical. Advocates and workers are receiving death threats, being targeted at courthouses, and facing coordinated online doxing campaigns, even facing this vitriol at their home. These threats have risen sharply in 2025 and are expected to continue due to the current political climate. At the same time, personal information is increasingly easy to access. Data brokers collect and sell information from public records, and social media can allow individuals to piece together identifying details. This makes it easier for bad actors to threaten or harm those who are simply doing their jobs. Advocates in California report doxing of staff and volunteers at immigration legal aid organizations, coordinated death threats against service providers, anti-immigrant vigilante activity directed at organizations by name and address. Organizations serving LGBTQ+ and immigrant communities commonly hide their locations, staff information, and other details to keep their teams and their people they serve safe. Currently, California state law does not provide adequate protections for sensitive data and information, leaving immigrant advocates and service providers vulnerable. General privacy laws act after harm has already occurred and were not designed to address the coordinated online politically motivated harassment that we are now seeing. This bill protects sensitive personal data in a way that empowers people to do their job safely and confidently under the Secretary of State's Safe at Home program before harm occurs. Since its inception 30 years ago, nearly 30 years ago, the Safe at Home program has protected thousands of victims of stalking and domestic violence victims, along with reproductive health care workers. The program, very simply, provides participants with a substitute address to shield their real addresses, requires the Secretary of State to act as an intermediary for mail and legal service, forwarding documents with a short time frame, keeping individual participants' home, work, and school addresses confidential and protected from public disclosure, establishes penalties for misuse or false applications to ensure program integrity, and prohibits the posting, displaying, selling, or distributing of the personal information or images of program participants online when done with proven intent to threaten, harass, or incite violence. No one should have to face harassment or threats at their home. This law helps prevent individuals with malicious intent from targeting service providers where they live, reducing the risk of escalation to violence, bodily harm, or worse. I'm continuing to work with my colleagues in the legislature and community partners to ensure this law is carried out as it's intended, to protect and prevent harm. At its core, this is about the safeguard of our privacy, dignity, and safety of immigrant service workers and their families. California has also recognized in the context of reproductive health care providers that when program participants are targeted because of their work, the state has a responsibility to provide proactive protections. Immigrant service providers now face similar threats, and they deserve those same safeguards under the Safe at Home program. Protecting these workers and volunteers means protecting access. If providers are driven out or silenced, immigrant communities lose access to vital services that help them survive and thrive. Here to testify in support, or Aide Rodriguez from the Environmental Justice Campaign Project Manager for Alianza Coachella Valley, and Brandon, who is a JD candidate.
Hi, good morning, Chair and members. Thank you for your consideration of AB 2624, Privacy for Immigration Support Services. My name is Aida Rodriguez. I'm testifying as a fellow for the Solis Policy Institute at the Women's Foundation of California. I'm here today to respectfully ask for your aye vote on this bill. Why? This bill seeks to expand the Safe at Home program, which for 30 years has provided qualified groups such as victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking, as well as reproductive justice service providers, and more recently, gender-affirming care providers and patients with address confidentiality, a substitute mailing address, and other legal tools to prevent or respond to doxing before it escalates into physical harm. As I sit here today, willingly, I also recognize that I may be targeted for advocating for this bill. I fear that people may come after me and or my family because of my affiliation with this effort through my fellowship and my solidarity with organizations and coalitions doing the good work of supporting vulnerable immigrant communities across California. These organizations help individuals understand and exercise their constitutional rights, amplify immigrant voices, and provide vital community resources such as humanitarian relief and translation services to counseling and healthcare. At a time when increasingly contentious and dangerous times for immigrant communities, when even citizens are being taken from the streets by ICE and subcontract agents under an aggressive federal administration. The work of these people working and volunteering for these organizations is more important than ever. Yet the people who carry out this work are often stalked, harassed, threatened, and intimidated. Organizations are doing what they can with limited funding to protect their employees and volunteers in their workplace through increased security and enhanced anonymity so their identities are protected as they do important work. AB 2624 would extend that protection by helping ensure their safety, security, and privacy at home. Everyone deserves to feel and be safe, especially in their own home. This bill ensures those facing growing threats in their professional lives can return home to peace, privacy, and security without fear for their own well-being and that of their families. AB 2624 seeks to do that, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Or you can pull the mic closer to you, whatever you prefer.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brandon. I'm a JD candidate in the great state of California and aspiring candidate, an aspiring immigration attorney, and I'm here in support of AB 2624. As a child of immigrants, I've chose to pursue immigration law after witnessing firsthand challenges that immigrant families face from navigating through the complex legal system and through living with constant uncertainty and fear. Those experiences have shaped my my commitment to this work and to supporting vulnerable communities in times like these, especially as attacks on immigrant communities continue. As I prepare to enter this field, I'm increasingly concerned. I'm increasingly concerned about my safety and the safety of others doing this work. Amid rising hostility towards immigrant communities and immigration attorneys and service providers have been targeted, have been harassed, and in some cases, doxxed. I've seen how organizations that support immigrant communities here in California are targeted. Immigration legal nonprofits already operate with limited resources, and those threats directly limit the ability to serve those communities. These threats have been shaping whether people like myself feel we can safely enter this field. Even within the last week, misrepresentation and online mobilization around this bill has made me question whether it was safe to me to speak publicly. But I'm here today because I know this is very important to share my perspective on AB 2624. AB 2624 is a critical step in addressing these concerns by strengthening in privacy protections for immigration service providers and those who can serve. And this bill ensures that people can continue this work without the fear for their safety. Without these protections, bad actors can continue to spread misinformation and expose personal information.
10 seconds.
Putting both providers and the communities they serve at risk. For these reasons, I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you both very much for your testimony today and for your bravery in being here. It's appreciated by the committee. And thank you, of course, Assembly Member. Next, if we can take the Me Too's in support of the bill, come on down. Name, organization, and position, please.
Gareth Elliott on behalf of the California Community Foundation in support.
Sophia Liu from Burbank, California at Marlboro High School with Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights in support.
I heard Burbank. That's great.
I made sure she said that. Southeast Asian Resource Action Center, CIRAC, Central Valley Empowerment Alliance, Services, Immigration Rights, and Education Network, Siren, and Monica Madrid with the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights in support.
Okay, I just want to take a moment so that we can all absorb what's been said, what we've heard, especially the 2 witness testimony. I want to just have everybody kind of understand what they were saying. This bill comes out of incidents that happened in LA, which resulted in riots, protesting against ICE. The organizations that brought the people together for those protests were the ones targeted. The director, some of the family members of those people in that organization were the ones targeted. So the fear is there because they went through that. This has nothing to do with free, independent journalism. So I just want to make that clear from my testimony and the answers that I got while I was there in person. I was the only one there in opposition. So I got clarity, and I want to share that clarity for everybody that thinks they're going to get fined or there's some kind of penalties for free, independent journalism, discovering fraud, waste, and abuse. Mia Bonta has actually clarified to me that that's not the intent of this bill. So I want to dispel the misinformation that's been put out there. I fell for it, so I don't want others to keep falling for this. All right, let's go back to the video.
Thank you all very much. Do we have anyone here testifying in opposition today? Okay, come on down, sir. There are 2 chairs right here in front of me. You're welcome to take either chair, and you'll have 2 minutes to address the committee. Your time doesn't begin until you start to speak. I'll give you the 30-second warning.
Thank you.
Looks like.
You can turn it. Is it on? Okay. My name is Damian Duran. I am a Sacramento native, independent journalist, and I oppose this because the clarification has not really been made whether this is going to affect journalism and investigating crime. If that is the case, that we can establish that it's not going to affect journalism and posting YouTube videos, then maybe there'll be more support, because I understand what he's saying about attacking immigrants. I understand that. The intent for journalism is not to incite violence. So I want to clarify that for all the truth seekers out there like myself. We're not trying to incite any violence. However, we do want to expose criminal activity, fraud, other things. So that's why I'm in opposition right now, and I represent a number of truth seekers, that if we can understand that it's not, if the intent from journalists is to incite, then yes, I get that. They're going to have to face their consequences. But independent journalists who actually investigate and are not trying to harm anyone or get anybody to show up at somebody's house and attack them, that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. If there's anyone else hoping to register a position of opposition or any other position on the bill, you can come up to this microphone by Mr. Ironside at this time. Okay, I don't see anyone taking the bait. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Mr. Lackey, welcome back. We are on Assemblymember Bonta's bill. Dr. Sharp-Collins.
Hi. Assemblymember Bonta, for bringing forth this is a really important bill. This bill reminds me of mine that came up last year, 1392, which was to do the exact same thing for what you're asking for today. It is important that we do everything we can to protect those that are working in this particular field, as we have done with us for elected officials and also for candidates, but also for those who are working in the reproductive field as well. As I stated when I introduced 1392, no one should fear walking out of their home every day. No one should fear even coming into the office every day when you're just trying to do what you can, as the member said, survive and thrive. And so I just wanted to echo the fact that this is an important bill. It definitely resembles 1392. It is the same thing from 1392. It's just moving forward to actually extend it. And I am going to be supporting this bill today. And hopefully, what we did do with 1392 though was that we did speak to the journalists as well, and we did find some middle ground. So I'm not sure whether you've have that dialogue yet in regards to the journalists, but maybe still considering speaking with them in case there is some listed oppositions for that. Right now, I don't see anything, but listening to his testimony, it did remind me of the fact that we did have some deep conversations with them to make sure that it did not impede on their ability to still do their work. So I just recommend maybe still having that dialogue, but definitely support the bill and understand where it's going, and no one should fear being able to do their work to be able to provide for their family. So I will be supporting the bill today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharp-Collins. Other questions or comments? Mr. Lackey.
Okay, here we are. This is a bill that's gotten a lot of attention, obviously. And here's the reason why I'm not able to support it today, is because the way it's being interpreted is very controversial and seems to be possibly even misunderstood. But because of that, it shows that this bill is not clear. Maybe it's clear in your intent, but the application needs help. In my opinion, if there's this much attention being drawn and accusations that it represents something that you say it doesn't represent, we need to work it through. And at this point, I'm not able to support it because of that very fact, that it's very confusing and it's causing so much animus. Maybe we can bring calm and show that your intent is really what your intent is. But as of right now, it's a lightning rod, and it's causing a lot of stir and a lot of concern, and I see both sides. So I'm caught in the middle, and that means that I'm going to be laying off. I just wanted you to know where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lackey. Mr. Harabidian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the author and both witnesses for being here today. I will be supporting the bill at the right time. Happy to move the bill, and I have full confidence in the author to ensure that anything that needs clarification will be clarified going forward. And I just want to thank you for bringing the bill.
Okay, thank you all very much. Assembly member, would you like to close?
Well, thank you. I first want to thank Ida and Brandon for being here, for sharing their testimony, and for continuing their important work despite the very challenging conditions. I saw handshaking, people questioning whether or not they should have come to testify, and that is largely because of the over the last week or so of this bill. Ida and Brandon and many immigrant service providers, as well as my colleagues and staff, having to face hateful profanity, disrespectful language, and threats, death threats. So I can't imagine how it must be for immigrant service providers who are doing their job every single day to have to deal with this level of hate. This bill has always been very clear in that it preserves California's journalist shields, Evidence Code Section 1070. That is in the legislation. It is very clearly in the legislation It only targets intentionally posting or distribution of personal information when tied to threats, harassment, or incitement of violence. Constitutional free speech protections still fully apply. It does not prevent lawful reporting of matters of public concern, and the bill is narrowly focused on preventing misuse of personal information, not restricting lawful speech. That is in the legislation as it stands. That has been in the legislation since the very first committee that has reviewed this bill. I want to be clear that at this moment in time, when people decide to proactively put out misinformation, it has dire consequences for individuals. It causes us to, in Assemblymember Lackey, your words, have a bit of a stir for some. For others, it means that they fear walking down the street. So while I am appreciative of the legislative process that we go through to ensure that we have an opportunity to fully vet and refine legislation as it moves forward, I want to first acknowledge that this piece of legislation, as Assemblymember Sharp Collins noted with her prior legislation, follows a program that has been in existence for nearly 30 years. It follows line and verse the aspects of that program as it was stood up in its origination for domestic violence survivors. And we are doing no different here, other than trying to make sure that good people, good residents of California, good citizens of California have the ability to serve our immigrant community, who are also good residents of California, good citizens of California, and good people of California. And with that, I respectfully request your aye vote.
Well, thank you very much, Assemblymember. I am recommending an aye today. I do have a brief statement. I'd like to provide some context. My only misgiving is that my colleague from San Diego, who's had so much to say about this bill on the floor, isn't here. So I hope his staff will flag it, and I hope he takes to heart what I'm about to say. First of all, and most importantly, Assemblymember, I want to thank you for your continued passionate advocacy for our underserved communities and for our communities of color, especially our undocumented residents in this moment. And I also want to thank both of the witnesses for your courage and your bravery being here before this committee today so that we can hear your testimony and we can feel the importance of this moment. Our undocumented residents and family members, both here and across the United States, live in unrelenting and constant fear of brutalization by ICE and unjustified rendering simply because of how they look or sound or the jobs that they perform in the state. I share your commitment to protecting our undocumented communities. Second, maybe one of the most important things I'll say, the Safe at Home program, which is really what this bill is all about, has existed in California since 1998 as part of the Secretary of State's programming. It offers, and I'm going to go slow because this is what I really hope gets out there. The Safe at Home program offers a substitute mailing address to receive first-class, certified, and registered mail for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking, child abduction, and elder or dependent adult abuse, as well as for reproductive health care workers, that's the subject of recent legislation, providers of gender-affirming care, and public entity employees who are in fear for their safety. I'll note that it requires filing an application under penalty of perjury with verified grounds that a person's safety is in fact in danger. This bill simply adds people providing specific types of immigration support services, including employees and volunteers, to the list of eligible people. Importantly, the privacy protections provided in this bill have been the law in California for reproductive health care workers going back to 2006. It was expanded to include online privacy protections in 2021 and 2024, and for providers of gender-affirming care most recently in 2025. This bill simply includes people providing a specific type of immigration support services to the same protections. And if I repeated myself twice, that was intentional because the misinformation is rampant, and I rest it solely at the feet of a certain member from San Diego who quite intentionally is doing this. Since 2016, the rise in online threats resulting in real-world violent attacks have spurred the need for these laws. Let me be extraordinarily clear again to the member from San Diego. There is no, and not Dr. Sharp Collins, she's delightful. There is no part of this bill, none, that prevents law enforcement, district attorneys, or the Attorney General of the great state of California from investigating fraud, notwithstanding what those acting in bad faith might claim. And I will also note to the opposition witness that was here today, and I did appreciate your testimony, sir, I would respectfully say that there's no part of this bill that impedes your ability to do your job. If I'm the subject of a journalistic approach, I would argue that you can certainly come at me. You don't necessarily need to publicly disclose where I live or where I take my children to school for you to do your job. And I'm not suggesting that's what you said, sir, but that's the point. This is about setting in place real guardrails to protect people. These programs are not new. They have been the law in the state for 25 to 30 years, and yet only after online agitators and disingenuous actors, including members of this legislature, raise the specter of concern are we seeing the opposition expressed over the last week. And I'm fired up because, as we heard from Assemblymember Bonta, this is resulting in real threats and harassment targeted at members of this body, and if they're targeting members of this body, I can only imagine what others, especially those who are trying to provide critical support services to our immigrant community, what they're facing every day that we don't even know about. So, Assembly Member, thank you for your tireless work in defending our communities of color and our undocumented residents, who all have contributed to the success of our state and are part of our state. We stand with you all. At the appropriate time, I will proudly recommend an aye, and shame on anyone who is making this lightning rod, this firestorm happen. Shame on them. Thank you. Oh, I see we have a quorum now. Can we call the roll?
Schultz.
Present.
Alanis. Mark Gonzalez. Haney. Harbidian. Lackey.
Here.
Nguyen. Ramos.
Right here.
Sharp Collins.
We have a quorum present. We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Let's call the roll.
For item 30, AB 2624 by Assemblymember Bonta, the motion is due pass as amended to the Appropriations Committee. Schultz.
Aye.
Schultz, aye. Alanis. Gonzalez. Haney. Harbidian.
Aye.
Harbidian, aye. Lackey.
Not voting.
Lackey not voting. Nguyen. Ramos.
Aye.
Ramos, aye. Sharp Collins. Sharp Collins, aye.
Okay, that measure remains on call. We'll let you know the outcome. And if my staff is watching, let's get this clip to Mr. DeMaio, shall we? Thank you.
Okay, so after the committee hearing, I was able to find Mia Bonta in the hallway talking with some people. And I approached her, and I really wasn't sure how she would treat me. Independent journalists probably aren't high on her list right now, so she did clarify some more things. So no question now.
There
With
was
all,
never a question.
I know,
sir.
but there was because of those videos.
There was
Mr. DeMaio.
because of the misinformation
Exactly.
that was pushed out by, sadly, a member of this legislature.
I understand.
And I'm so sorry
Okay.
for the people who had to deal with the hate, including these people
Yes,
over here.
yes. See, we had no idea of this real issue.
Over
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
I think our role is to always dig deeper and dig for the truth.
Mhm.
And
I
if
appreciate
that is
it.
your role, then that needs to happen.
Okay. Thank you.
You shouldn't take the bait.
Hi everyone. I work for the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. Shirley, I'm also a Solon's Policy Institute Fellow with the Women's Foundation of California. The sponsors of this bill, one of the sponsors of this bill, should I say, not the only one. But I really want to emphasize that the intent of this bill is not to criminalize truism. The bill is to criminalize those who are putting people's public information at risk with the intent of harming an individual. The organization's executive director has gotten several death threats and has also had somebody show up to her mother's house thinking that it was her house, looking for her. So there are actual fears and justified
reasons for this. This is not about investigative journalism. If folks want to have questions about Chirla in specific, please contact our communications director, Jorge Mario Cabrera, and he's more than welcome to have conversations about that with journalists. Thank you.